I'm Van Murray, Director of Cloud Services with NeoNova, and NeoNova is SMB, Premier Google Apps Reseller, but I wanted to give our intro on cloud computing talk, and sorry we were late. We came in from Raleigh. Wanted to kind of get a gauge for you guys, but can I just get a show of hands of who knows about cloud computing or is using cloud computing today? Just a quick show of hands. That's great. That's great. Almost half of you, it looks like. So that's good. So I think we'll get a lot out of this. And let me. Sorry if that's going to mess up our titles, but I'm a Raleigh, NC native. Getting Director of Cloud Services. Started with NeoNova in March from a company that I started, a business that I ran focusing on providing cloud solutions to small businesses and medium business for that matter, locally in Raleigh. Went to North Carolina State University. I'm Google Certified Deployment Specialist number 492. So for those of you who don't know, Google has a certification program for cloud computing. I'm also a certified Google Sales Specialist. So there are exams much like the Microsoft certifications. There's a certification program, a test, and actually two specifically related to Google Apps. My background prior to that, I'm CCNA certified. Again, went to NC State. Started my IT career with the state of North Carolina and Glaxo, International Standards and Systems. Worked at a couple of startups. One is an implementation engineer, and the other is an IT manager. And again, started a business in 2010 and ran it for 2 years before we were acquired by NeoNova. So that's my background. NeoNova provides services for hundreds of small and medium businesses, over 70 regional ISPs, as well as subscriber network management, professional services throughout the United States. We basically provide services everywhere from Florida up to Alaska to businesses and traditionally managed services, hosting services, and now cloud services. So the problem, and working as an IT director, problems occur every day. So I guess what I mean by this really is sort of at a high level in terms of managing IT and giving folks the access to the software and hardware that they need. There's a series of problems, one of which is software, right? So I'm not going to pick on specific software vendors, but the idea is that you have software that runs on computers and servers, and this software has to be updated, maintained, and there's different purchase models for this. But at the end of the day, that requires lots of resources, an IT budget that allows you to update your software, update your hardware. Software locally on PCs is very difficult unless you have a way to manage that, and most businesses, frankly they don't. Their budgets go to people, to resources, to software that allows their business to run, and sometimes it can easily get out of date. And then you have failures, and you have folks calling your help desk. You got to staff your help desk, so you become a reactive support company. Synchronization. So everybody has, I don't know, let me get a show of hands of mobile devices. Who's got an iPhone, Android, iPad tonight with them? Over half, probably more than the cloud computing response. Windows 8, there we go. Perfect. We love those. We love them all. So everybody knows about synchronization, mobile device synchronization with other systems, email, contacts, calendars. If you've seen the screen on the right, if you had a BlackBerry, you've probably seen this screen a few times. It's, your device has some data and the server has some data. Which one is right? The software is asking you. That's not sustainable, and it causes support issues, data loss issues, all kinds of things. Modern technology today allows us to have synchronization, and specifically the cloud lets you have synchronization with your mobile devices, with multiple mobile devices, without those issues. So another issue, some of you may have seen this one before, You need permission to perform this action when trying to access a file. So this is basically to sort of illustrate the idea that you have files on servers, you have files on PCs, you need to share those files. Traditionally, you create a file and you save it to a physical location, a server or a PC. Multiple folks have access to it. You're saving different versions, emailing different versions around. That's a huge problem. So we need to solve that. Another problem, data loss. So these are some major reasons, the leading causes for data loss. So hardware system failures, server crashes, SAN crashes, human error, software corruption, viruses, natural disaster. All of these everybody probably knows about, and we try to protect against these things. That's extremely difficult to do in the traditional IT world, and it's hard to predict. You end up prioritizing, what's more important, a hardware failure or human error. It's hard to weigh those, and it's hard to get a budget on those when you're trying to determine, how do you protect your company's data? What is more important? It's very hard for a business to account for 100% of these things for data loss. So the solution, cloud computing. So this is a very generic slide, but the idea is that all of your data resides in the cloud with a reputable vendor that you have legal agreements with your business. We'll go over that in just a minute. But you have multiple devices, and this is becoming more and more common. Companies are implementing bring your own device policies, ways to try to control hardware inventory and that sort of thing is becoming more and more difficult. But you have Macs, you have PCs, you have mobile devices. All of these need access to your data. So what is cloud computing? So cloud computing, everybody's heard virtualization, virtual servers. It's virtual. Servers are scalable. Resources are all available. It's basically processing power, memory, and storage. It's affordable, pay for what you use, it's flexible, it's secure. These are all things that you need as part of a cloud solution. So as you guys are evaluating different cloud solutions out there, you want to make sure that you have these four core characteristics. What types of solutions can cloud computing support? So email, and I'll go through, there's really four core elements that we believe that cloud computing can support. But it's email, contacts, calendars, instant messaging, mobile device sync. It's your storage, so file sharing, document management systems. It's websites, intranets, and extranets. And those are standard technologies. And applications and servers, the other apps. So whatever else your business supports in terms of another application, CRM, accounting, that sort of thing. So business ownership, business owners, they want mobility, productivity, bring your own device, anyone accessing data from anywhere, anytime. How do you do that? Traditionally it's very hard. VPNs, private networks, wide area networks, that sort of thing. They want to mitigate risk, reduce liability, reduce capital expenditure, and they want agility. Focus on your core customers and your competition. Don't focus on email and file servers. And hopefully this slide will come up so you can see it. But basically, and this is a good one, I like showing this. This is the evolution of cloud. And it basically is, you've got two components, right? You've got data communication and you've got data management. So it's sort of the history of technology, starting with your traditional telegraph, telephone, first email sent in 1971, over to the first mechanical computer. You've got big business adopting mainframes, 1960, desktop PCs, 1982, first data warehouse, 1990, all the way up to the .com, 2000, and social media, 2004 on the communication side. All of these things are going to converge into the cloud. So you find things like Google Apps, Microsoft, Apple, they're all vendors providing a combination of data communication and management. So you have those two components. So that's kind of how you can look at this convergence over time, and it's just now getting to that point thanks to the internet. So who are your vendors? Everybody has probably seen these folks. Amazon, IBM, Rackspace, Google, Microsoft. They're all vendors for business. So as you evaluate cloud vendors, these are the folks that you'll likely be talking to. Who else are vendors? Yeah, all of these folks. So, as you look at this, and it's hard to see. I mean, you could probably recognize some logos and things, but it's. I mean, there are many cloud service providers out there today, solution providers. A lot of them around software, some of them around hardware, but basically in some core categories: CRM, HR, finance, content management, analytics, marketing. All of these are available to you as a business. So, how do you select these? And it comes down to, who you trust, how are you going to implement it, how are you going to support it, and then where is your data, what legal agreements do you have? All of those things are extremely important as a business to understand. So as you start evaluating these cloud solutions, just understand who you're working with, where your data is, and make sure you have those things in place. Hopefully I didn't just lose my presentation here. There we go. Sorry about that. So who is you? There you go. I blame it on my Mac. I'm a technology lover, not a hater. But yeah, it could be anything. Everybody's out here. I'll call somebody up here to support me here. So who's using cloud computing? So there's a good chance that most of you here recognize, these businesses. These are all, I consider them, enterprise businesses. This is directly off of the who's using Google Apps slide deck. So we call it cloud computing. There's obviously a lot of businesses out there using cloud computing. And Google Apps obviously is in that category, in that first of four, as in email predominantly. But also, the small to medium businesses using cloud computing. So this is a slide deck off of some of our customers, and everybody uses it a little bit different. But it's not just for big enterprise, and it's not just for your small business. It's any business. It's any organization. It's education. I'll invite Vin, our director of cloud sales, up here in a minute to talk about the number of businesses. It's 5 million businesses using Google Apps for Business, for example. But it's millions and millions of users and millions of businesses that are using this today. So it's it is a new technology. However, it's not a new technology. So how much does it cost? This looks more intimidating on the big screen than it does on my laptop. So this is a TCO analysis for those who have ever done something similar. The idea is that we've got two major columns here. One is cloud IT on demand, and the other is traditional IT, which could be on-premise, colo, hosted. And this data comes from general rough numbers here from real customers. So these aren't. We do these for our customers and that sort of thing to help evaluate, how to deploy solutions. But it's basically over a 5-year period. You have a cost based on the number of people and the amount of data that you have for servers, hardware, communication costs, internet, wide area network costs, server licensing, exchange server cows and that sort of thing. Training, consulting, upgrades, support staff. So this is a 200-user company that, in this case, didn't grow any in 5 years, which is pretty rare, but we can adjust and it'll factor that in. But just at a straight 200-user company with some rough estimates of general usage in terms of storage and that sort of thing, we've come up with $391,000 over 5 years as a total cost versus $885 on your traditional on-premise. Well, why is that? So if you go through the numbers, it's pretty straightforward, and there's a couple big categories. One is the cost that it takes your internal staff or even consulting staff to support your traditional IT infrastructure. And, you know, we like to say that we don't want those folks to be not working on what they normally do. We want them to work on things that help the core business, that help, you know, fight your business competition, that, you know, that help you stay competitive. Don't spend your time focusing on an Exchange server that crashes all the time. Or, and again, I'm trying not to pick on, I broke a rule. I'm trying not to pick on technology here, but individuals. But it's, it's just a difference in the way IT business units operate. I have another example just to show that even for a 20-user business, we're still showing significant savings by going to an OpEx model to where you're spending on basically a fee per user per month, which includes everything that you'd normally have to figure out. It's your licensing, it's your support, it's your disaster recovery, your backups and restore process. And so none of that's factored in here. We just factored in that both are going to run, you're going to run your cloud IT and your on-premise IT and nothing's going to crash. We all know that's not going to happen. So there are other things to factor in and consider. So as you evaluate that, look at your vendors of, what their uptime is and that sort of thing in terms of the cloud side. And look at yourself. Look at traditional IT and how you do it today. How often have you gone down? Sure, yeah. So, okay, the smaller one is the cloud side. Total cost of ownership, $78,000 on a cloud IT on-demand model. On a traditional model, on-premise, colo, and hosted, $237,000. So it's over half. Okay, so it's a big difference. Again, every business is different, and we can plug different numbers in here to do that. And we do that every day, and we encourage our customers to call us and give us real numbers, and we'll give you real numbers in return. And we have folks who, we obviously have the experience to back up. We have 2, 3, 4 years of data to go on. So they are real numbers. 2 years ago, this was harder to do. Uh-oh.
One is, have you done this comparison to Office 365? My second question is, have you updated your charts to the new pricing?
Hey, great. So, great questions. And so this actually includes the same pricing as Office 365 in terms of how we were evaluating this. So we believe that you're going to get a similar result with other cloud solutions, and I'm going to go against our sort of company rule. We are a Google partner, and we saw that in the slides and everything. But what we're trying to illustrate here is that whether it's $8, $10, $12 a month, $14 a month, whatever it is that you're paying for, let's just focus on what email, that the model is going to be roughly the same. And I don't think by adding Microsoft to our Google model here is going to make it all of a sudden up to $237. So, great question. And then me personally, yes, I have worked with 365, but as a company, we're a Google SMB premier partner with Google. So I hope that answers the question. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. So I know what you're talking about now. Sorry. So Google recently retracted the ability to sign up for free with the Google Apps Suite, and I think it was purely for confusion around what you get. Google Apps, the free edition. We'll focus on Google Apps, but it's the free edition was not bound by any sort of SLA terms and conditioning, the protections that you get as a business and what you sign up for with Google Apps for Business. So it really is, in our perspective, it's a good thing, and it's really a good thing for businesses because we discourage businesses from running on those platforms, whether it's Google or any other cloud solution that does not have those protections. So that's the idea. Great questions though. And I did, I'm happy to open it up for. I'd actually like to move into a quick demo if we have time. Does anybody have a time? We good? Okay. So we talked about cloud computing as a solution and sort of at a high level. So what we want to do here is get out of this presentation mode. I'll just jump into a quick Google Apps slide. And matter of fact, instead of that, who wants to see a slide deck on Google Apps, and who wants to see Google Apps demo? How about the slide deck? Show hands. Demo. Demo wins. Okay. All right. So I'm actually, we already had a demo. So I'm in Google Apps right now. I was giving my presentation out of it. But I'll jump back. And I've got a low res here. Normally, I don't know what resolution this presentation is, but so it's going to be a little hard to read my mailbox. But, and I've been in the car, so I haven't had time to clean this out. I'm a minimalist on my email. My goal is to get to 0 every day. I have 30 right now, so I got 30 on the trip up. And so I use my inbox as a task list. So what I'm going to show here really is more of innovations around email and Google Apps versus, everybody understands how to send email, how to reply and CC and that sort of thing. So when you log in, we'll focus on the mail.com. This is your Gmail box. We've got inbox. Some of the innovations are, like I mentioned, with, archiving, or excuse me, with innovations. The archiving is one. So I can archive a message. My inbox is 25 gigs here. So back to the storage component. I'm not paying for storage like I am on my Exchange server. It's built into the cost. These numbers next to the messages represent conversations. So you can see I have conversations enabled here for me to see. I have 3 emails on this topic. I don't have to sort anymore by the top columns in Outlook. Folders are all supported just like you're used to. And I'll actually show you how Outlook synchronizes here. And so the goal here for us is that we allow all of our devices, so my iPad that I brought, my Android, the browser, Outlook, it's all seeing the same thing. So everything's in sync. So that's important. It goes back to what we talked about in cloud computing. So everything's the same. I'm not having to synchronize manually or worry about is one device out of sync and that sort of thing. Inside of this, I have my chat built in, so I can chat with my teammates here. I can do video calls if I'd like. All that stuff's built in. Calendaring. We had some questions on calendaring today, actually. But everything that I'm used to, and this is hugely intimidating. I'm sorry. Turn that off. But we can have multiple calendars in one view here. We can share calendars just like we're used to. So, again, from a one-to-one functionality, it's probably much like you're used to. We have Google Drive, which you saw me work my presentation here. Google Drive is your file storage. Basically all of my files are stored here in Google Drive. I can put any file I like here. So it actually gives you the ability to create documents, presentations, spreadsheets, forms, and drawings right here in the browser. But I can enable a sync folder to my computer and open Google Drive directly, put any file I want in there. Office documents, AutoCAD files, anything. And we're doing file server migrations direct to Google Drive. And then we also have sites, groups, contacts, many other different applications here. All of them fit those 4 core categories that we talked about before, which were email, synchronization, collaboration, file, web servers, and your application, your servers. So any questions about Google Apps? I know I'm probably got a couple minutes left on time, so we don't have time for a full demo, but I wanted to introduce you the concepts and how some of those things fit into those core solutions we talked about in the other presentation. But I'm happy to take a couple questions. I think we're trying to hit 8:15. Sure. Yeah. So it comes with, for Google Apps for Business, it comes with 5 gigs of storage. You can put any file you want in there. Anything you create in Google Docs, which is the presentation that we just saw, document presentation, spreadsheet, forms, and drawings, all of those have no limits. So you can put as many as you want in there. Yep. Yeah. Great. Any other questions while I'm up here? Well, thank you very much. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. So the way it works, and this is important for all cloud solutions, is the answer is yes. And so in Google Apps, in Google's case, it's replicated over multiple data centers. It's all encrypted, so it's not humanly readable. So you couldn't walk into a Google data center and look in my mailbox. You have to authenticate, and authentication is handled through your Google account, and you can enable two-factor passwords, lots of other security features there too. Single sign-on, other solutions there. So again, it's a good thing to ask. Yep.
Can you speak to directory services? Is it plugs in or doesn't plug into the front?
Are you talking like LDAP or Active Directory? Yeah. So absolutely yes. So and there's many ways to achieve this. And Google, I'll talk to Google Apps because I know about that. Google Apps allows you to synchronize using Google Apps Directory Sync and Password Sync. So you can provision directly out of Active Directory, or you can just synchronize passwords. You can also enable single sign-on to custom applications and authenticate against other authentication sources too. There's most sort of top-tier cloud solution providers are offering that ability. So you want to, as you evaluate other solutions, you want to look for that. Great. Well, thanks everyone. Thanks for the questions, and thanks for the opportunity to talk.